All right, so what we're going to do today is talk about HubSpot form tracking and how do you set that up with Google Tag Manager and then report on it subsequently in GA4 or Looker Studio. So the first step is starting in Google Tag Manager. There's not much that we have to add here. It should be pretty straightforward. Just a couple of tags, two variables or 2 or 3 variables here. And then there's also a trigger, which I must have already added. I have a pre-built container that I typically use for this process. More often than not, I'm adding it to a new client that's coming on board with us. I'm going to share that in the blog after this as well. So I'm going to hit add to workspace. All right. So let me go right over here to tags. All right. So right at the top here, we have HubSpot Form Submissions. How does this event work? So measurement ID, that's going to be your Google Analytics measurement ID. Typically looks like something like this, G hyphen followed by a number of letters and letters or numbers, I should say. I can't talk today. So then the next thing will be your event name. So I try to keep it simple and straightforward, HubSpot Form Submissions or HS Form Submissions. And as the name suggests, it is anytime a HubSpot form is submitted on your website. I'm going to circle back on these in a second, but the trigger is, I'll go to that one next. You're going to create a trigger. It's going to be a custom event, and the event name is Form Submission, a singular, not with an S at the end. Just one quick note. I usually do on all custom events, especially for this first one that I'm creating, where it's kind of the all-encompassing HubSpot Form Submissions event. But say you wanted to maybe create a separate GA4 event for your Contact Us form, where you would make this a little bit different is you can make a copy of this, switch that up, go maybe Contact Us, and then change this to Form ID, and then put in the unique Form ID for your Contact Us form. That would be the way to sort of distinguish each of those events, obviously, and also the event name. But as far as the trigger is concerned, that's how you would set that up and create individual events for each individual form that you have. So I'm going to discard that and just go back to the way it was, but I'm going to circle back here on your event parameters. Form ID, as the name sounds, it's the form ID that you would pull right from HubSpot. And then the form name. The form name references a lookup table, which is a pretty cool variable that you can use right in GTM. I'm going to show you how that works now, but go over 2 variables. That'd probably be easier to look at it that way. Lookup table, HubSpot form names. So the first thing, input variable, that's kind of what it should be referencing basically. So what I put here is the form ID. It's a data layer variable. So if you haven't had that or already added it, it would be a data layer variable, and the name is form_ID. Go back up to your lookup table. So that's going to be our reference point. And basically the lookup table, the way it works is I'm going to put my form IDs over here and my form names over here. I'm going to do this real quick. So yeah, okay. If you have a lot of HubSpot forms, this is where this tool becomes especially helpful, or this variable becomes really helpful. So go over to HubSpot, go to Marketing, Forms, and it should look something like this. Actions, export forms, and then do all available form dashboard data. It takes literally under 10 seconds, and you should get a little notification right here saying that your report's ready. Click on it, it will download, and then you can import it into Google Sheets or just open it up in Excel. But ultimately what you're trying to get here is your form ID and your form name. If you have to do it manually going into each form, it'll take a significant amount of time, especially if you have a lot of forms on your site. So I'm going to go ahead and hide these columns, hide those. Now, there is an even faster, more efficient way to do this, which I'm not going to get into for the sake of time, but the way this would work now, I copy my form ID and I paste that there. Go over here, get my form name, and I paste that there. And then I do that for all the forms on my site. Again, this more efficient way, I'll make sure I touch on that sometime soon, but this would be the way I would set it up. If we had a handful of forms on their site and we wanted to get an event created so we could start tracking HubSpot form submissions. hit discard. So obviously go through your testing and previewing. I'm going to skip that for the sake of this conversation, but assuming you have it all set up correctly, you fill out a form, the event fires successfully in GA4. Your next step is going to be going over to GA4. Let me pause for 1 sec. All right, so looking back here, we created a GA4 event tag, which had 2 event parameters, form ID and form name. We have to register those as custom dimensions in GA4 to report on them. It's a kind of a annoying extra step that you have to take in GA4, but it's well worth it, and it's important that you do it right away. Otherwise, like I said, you won't be able to access that data until you do so. So you go to create custom dimensions. Whatever you have on the left-hand side here in GTM, so form ID and form name, is what you're going to put in this bottom one, this bottom text box here, so form ID or form name. I've already registered these before, but the dimension name, though, you can name that whatever you want. You don't have to follow like the underscore casing. You can name it HubSpot form name and put a little description in here so that if anybody else wants to know what exactly it's actually reporting, they'll have an understanding of that. So now once you do that, you can, within a day or so, as the events start collecting in GA4, you can actually start reporting on those things. So next up is the report itself. So let me go over to reports, library in your bottom left here. I'm going to create a new report, and it's going to be a detailed report. You could do it blank, or you can do, kind of use one of these as sort of your baseline. I like to use the events one since it has most of what we're going to be adding here. But this is where we would really customize this report so it only shows HubSpot form data. All right, so dimension, I'm going to put a report filter on here first and foremost. I'm going to do it by event name. Exactly matches. Actually, now I have 2 of these events in here that's kind of an exception to the rule here, but you would only include the HS form submissions. I use exactly matches because it's available in this drop down here. But let's say you just published those changes in GTM and it's not available for you yet in this drop down. Just switch this over to contains. You could do it like that. Okay. So go back to exactly matches. Hit apply. All right. Now on the left-hand side here, we should just see the event name, HS form submissions. In this case, I already had an event set up, which I didn't realize I did. So that's my bad on that one. But looks like they are the same exact event, same data, same metric count so far. So I'm going to pause one of those. Metrics. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me go back to dimensions. Let me add in those 2 custom dimensions that I just created a few minutes ago. Form name. So we got HubSpot form name and form ID. And I'm actually going to remove the event name as an option here too. Hit apply. And now metrics. I'm going to get rid of revenue here. You can add in whatever you want. You want to add in like active users or session key event rate or engagement rate. That's totally up to you. Just for the sake of this example, I'm going to keep it simple. Now, not set. I'm sure we've all seen this before, and unfortunately, we will continue to see it in various reports throughout the GA4 platform. But in this particular case, why is it so high, at least right away? I just created this report. I just published the changes in GTM. Why is not set so high? Well, a couple of things. When I register those 2 custom dimensions, it's not retroactive. So it's effective the day that I register them as custom dimensions, which means that anything that happened prior to today is going to show up here under not set when I'm trying to report on HubSpot form name or form ID. Since they're brand new dimensions in this GA4 property, that's why most of those are going to show up as not set. A couple other reasons why not set will appear if you're reporting like right up until the day, present day basically. Just a general rule of thumb, I would recommend at least backing it up like even 5 to 7 days, but at a minimum, give yourself like a 2 to 3 day window whenever you're reporting within GA4, you can allow it to fully propagate and process all the data so it's as accurate as possible. But eventually, long story short, this not set will decrease, and you'll see more just form names. All right, so I'm going to hit save. I've got everything I need here. In the meantime, though, if you wanted to update this so it doesn't show not set, you can do that. You can just add another condition. Let's see, HubSpot form name does not exactly match, and then should have, or maybe let's see, does not contain. We'll have to go with, yeah, does not contain, not set, and then hit apply. We are good. So now it's nice and clean. You won't see that not set in there anymore. All right, hit save. And I'm going to put in my report name. So HubSpot Form Submissions. You can put a description here if you want to. Choose not to. Now, I don't know if this happens for anybody else, but anytime I save a report like that, it, for whatever reason, it unhides the bar chart, which I don't really like the bar chart really on any of the reports. So I'm going to unhide that and save it again. All right, and now I'm going back. Now I want to add the new report that I just added over here in this left navigation. So I'm going to go over to life cycle, or actually business objectives, edit. All right, where do I want this to go? I'm going to put it right here under events. So I'll go right down. I'm going to scroll down until I see HubSpot Form Submissions, drag it over, hit save, save changes to current selection, and back out. All right, so I did that under business objectives. So it should be right here, HubSpot Form Submissions. Click on that, and there you go. There you have it. So we have HubSpot Form. We could do it by form ID here as well. And if you wanted to add in any other metrics, like I said, you're free to do so. But this gives you a very quick, high-level overview of the success of all the forms on your website, at least the HubSpot forms anyway, without having to create an event for every single one. So again, if you have like 10, 15, even 20 unique forms on your site, but you don't feel like creating individual events for each one, this is a pretty easy way to do that without having to go through that effort. So yeah, that's about it. That's how you set up a custom report in GA4 for HubSpot Form Submissions using Google Tag Manager, a custom form listener, which listens for any kind of form submissions, GA4 event, and your lookup table. So hopefully you guys can find this helpful. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.